Alright, Justin's Latin, which isn't very difficult, but repelled by the Apulians, present participle, consulting the oracle, they accepted a response. Those who were re-seeking or trying to take back the place, the locum, they would be the possessors perpetually. So that's from the oracle. Therefore, from this causal reason, through some legates, and with the threat of war, genitive there, what do they do? They postulated, they demanded that for them, the city, for these people receiving it back, it should be restored to these people by the Apulians. But when this oracle was known, he note-witted to the Apulians, having killed their legates, they buried them in the city. There, they would have their perpetual seat or resting place perpetually. Atqui ita. And thus, the dead people possessed the city in response of this oracle for a long time. Which fact, when Alexander knew this, he was venerating the fate of antiquity, or he had a belief in these ancient authorities. He abstained from having a war with these people. The prophecy had been fulfilled. Anyway, he gazetted war. He conducted a war with the Brutais and these other people, start with L, Lucanus, and he captured many cities, multis urbs. Cum, with these Metapontine people and the Perdiculus people and the Romans, he made Foedus, which are treaties, and friendship with these people. But the Brutii and the Lucana people, when they got some auxiliaries from their neighbours, which were drawn together or contracted, they brought together, they resought war more fiercely. There, next to the city Pandosia and the Flumen Toronto, which the oracle had said, the Rex, the king, with the name known not prior, so not prior did he know the name of this fatal place where he was killed. Anyway, he was killed there. So when he was dying and he was not in his homeland, there's a verb, he understood his dangerous death for him, on account of which he had fled his homeland. So he thought, he thought he would die in his homeland, so that's why he went on this excursion to invade here, and then he's found these had the same names which are in the prophecy, and that's when he finally understood the prophecy when he was dying. 15. His corpse, the Thurini people, handed over for burial at public expense, redeemed. So there was a payment, probably a ransom. And while this was agunting in Italy, this guy here, Zopfrian, also was the prefect of the Pontus, who had been left there by Alexander Magnus, he was thinking himself at leisure, just bludging, doing nothing. He was otiosum. He himself was thinking he'd be doing nothing. He'd be at leisure if he guessed at nothing, if he did nothing. He's united ad uno. He's made one of 30,000 people in an army, and he's entulated war to the Scythians. And looks like he was Casus. He was slaughtered with all these forces, paying the penalty of enlating war, bringing in war rashly to a harmless people. This, when it was announced in Parthia to Dative Alexander, he simulated a bit of grief on account of his cognation to his uncle, on account of his blood relation to him. But he, in Dixit, he pronounced for the army, his army, there would be 3 days of luctum, bit of grief and mourning. Then, with or to everybody, as if the war was finished, they would be returning into their homeland. All these people with their expectation that this would be happening, they were going home, and their wives and children now already were in their mind the embraces with their spouses and family, he called the army to an assembly, a contion. There, in the assembly, nothing had been acted out in so many famous battles, he said, if the Oriental barbarians are left unharmed or safe. Neither this body that he had been seeking was of Darius, but his kingdom. He wasn't seeking the body of Darius, but his kingdom. And they should persecute these who had defected from the regnum. In this oration, as if from afresh or anew, the minds were re-incited. They were from afresh. He stirred up the minds of the soldiers again, and he subjugated wherever the hell that is, Hyrcania or something, and these people are the Mardos people. There, at this place, they met him Thalestris, or this chick, the queen of the Amazones, with 300 muliabuses. Usually they're married women, but it could just be women. They'd had 35 of days in completing their journey amongst the whole bunch of packed together people, convertissimus. She had been seeking children from the king, so she wants to get pregnant. Okay, so I just looked in the lobe. They've got infestos, which means hostile, so there's a alternate version where they weren't just very packed together people, but they could have been hostile. Anyway, the conspectus or appearance of her and her arrival was something of admiration to all the people on account of her unusual habitum, which can be clothing or a bearing, I'd say it's her clothing, of the woman, and on account that she was expeditum, she was seeking lying in bed with him. Because of this, there were 3 decem days given for rest by the king, so it was 13 days of rest, and as it seemed her uterus had been filled up with sperm, I suppose, she left. Post this, Alexander, the gear of the kings of Persia, the clothing of the kings of Persia, and a diadem, which is a crown, which is unusual or not known of before, to the kings of Macedonian, as if taking the laws or conditions of those who he had conquered. He transferred these from the Persians to the Macedonians, and he assumed he took up this clothing and diadem. So which, lest he would seem begrudged or envied or hated, this would be conspicuously turned unto himself. His friends also he ordered to take up long vests and this gold and purple vest. So long golden and purple. The way adjectives work can be the same as in English or sometimes backwards, so I think we'd usually say long first. Anyway, let's get a daily dictionary word going. Concubitum. Concubitus. Lying together, sleeping, dinner, sex, sexual intercourse, coitus, sexual act. So prop that takes accusatives, as you can see.